Now, based on what I saw last night, I must say that you must be the brave souls of the group. CCP Falcon got somebody threw up on him, and I've seen some dark things. But I appreciate every single one of you who got up at 10 o'clock to be here with me. And I think you won't regret that. We're gonna cover interesting stuff today. I'm gonna start with the thing that we're deploying on November 15, which is part 1 of the new MP, which we're calling Inception. And I showed you a tiny bit of it in the keynote. And then if we have time, we're gonna go into part 2 and the next steps. And then in the roundtable discussion that we have at 12, we're gonna go even further into that direction. So, the task at hand. CCP assembled a team, Team Genesis. Powerful, big team. We have 3 programmers, 2 game designers, content designer, UI designer, 2 QAs, and me, and project manager. And we have been hard at work because the task, well, we need to teach players about EVE Online. Here are the 9 million things they need to know.
That might be conservative.
Yes, exactly. So, the challenge. How do we show the awesomeness of the game without overwhelming you? This was the key question that we needed to answer. Challenge is we are losing players in the first moments. As I explained in FanFest, we lose more than half of every new player just within the first couple of hours. And when we looked into why, we surveyed and we checked out what was happening, the main reason always came back to this: it's just overwhelming. There's so much stuff you can do, there's so much information that people just get overwhelmed. The average Joe gamer, he is not equipped to handle the game as it is right now. The game is simply scary, overwhelming. So our goal, first session or 2 should be enjoyable, have a good flow, be exciting, give you a taste of some of the sweet spots of the game, teach you foundational knowledge, make you want to come back, and give you confidence to continue exploring the game. No biggie. Our answer? Team Genesis built a very clear vision, and that was then benchmarked against the community, sort of proofread by you guys, and that has been a formula that I feel works very well, and I want to continue that cooperation. And I'm very excited for the roundtable we have, and I've had massive feedback from you guys during eVegas, and it's been very, very interesting, and I really like people stopping me and they're telling me their thoughts and concerns and what they like. And one of my favorite feedback has been when players have been stopping me and saying stuff like, I showed what you introduced at the keynote to my wife, and for the first time ever she's interested in trying out the game. You know, this is exactly what we're aiming for. That people who have been scared of the game or just wouldn't dare to enter it see something like what we're building right now, and they're like, okay, this is something I'm willing to give a try, and this doesn't seem too scary. So, Inception is about story. We give you a mentor from your empire that you choose. We give you a comrade/assistant in the aura. We give you powerful guidance. We add a little mystery to it, and we give you your own journey. Let's start with the mentors. These are the 4 Empire mentors that we crafted for the new player experience. And the mentors originally in the design, they had a bigger role than they have now. That role was somewhat moved to the aura, and I'll explain a little bit later why we did that. But the empires are the father archetype, so to say. They serve a very specific purpose. They are here to give you the why. Why are you here? Why are you important? What do you need to do? They are very concerned with the mission, and they are this type of character that you kind of crave the approval of, but you're a little scared of, and you don't want to let down. And they're like way above you in the ranking of the Empire, and they've seen it all. They're the VIPs that show up. And to introduce you a little bit to them, this is Rey Katara from the Kaldari. She is very calculated, and at the beginning she will seem very cold, but as soon as you start showing her that you are up for the challenge, she warms up to you a little bit. And when we had the early Twitch stream, we had a lot of interesting comments about Katara. One of my favorite comments was, does anybody have Katara's Snapchat? So she seems to appeal to at least some of you guys. Then we have Cole Torrell for the Galente. Cole Torrell is knows he's the man dude. And when I was voice directing the actor, I told him, okay, every time you walk into a room, you know that you're better than everybody else. Go. And that was what he got. And he's we kind of had the America, freedom, U.S. Marine type feeling with him, and I think he delivered excellently. Then we have Ina Vadari for the Minmatar. She's the passionate one. She's very concerned about her brethren, and her motivations deal with other human beings. She hates the Amar because they've enslaved her people. She's very concerned with you as the player. She's much more concerned with you than most of the other ones, and she's a very, very archetypical Minmatar, I would say. And then we have, I don't know if I should say this, this dude is kind of my favorite, Rafael Taron of the Amar. And I have a video clip later where we're going to show him. The voice actor we got for him, he's just phenomenal. He has such a powerful voice, and this is a serious dude. Taron doesn't mess around. He's very, very faithful and pious, and he knows that through the Amar faith we can change the world for the better. And that's exactly his mission, and you better prove to him that you are faithful too. So, as you can see, we've created 4 very different type of personalities. So you can choose kind of what type of personality would you like to accompany you on this trip, on this first journey throughout the game. So we give you options, and the options should be reflective, the personality should be reflective of the empires. We try to remain very faithful to that. But we had to make some bold moves. One of the boldest moves we made, probably, was we decided to switch out the old aura. And the feedback we've been getting, it has been overwhelmingly positive, which I'm very happy to report. But the nerves that we have touched, a lot of them deal with removing the old aura. But we decided that, we were going to try something very different, and we were going to try something powerful. And the way we designed and implemented aura, I believe in the big picture, the benefit of it will be enormous. And aura is already testing out very, very well. Aura is the mother archetype, in contrast to the father archetype of the mentor. And aura gives you the how. The mentor comes in, and he's like, this is what's happening, this is the why, you need to do this, that, and this. Don't fail me, recruit, or you're dead. And you're just like, oh crap, how do I do that? And then aura steps in, and she's like, Captain, don't worry, I got your back. And she tells you what you can do. And she has a very, very powerful quad guidance system of voice, images, text, and UI highlights. And aura is warm, she's embracing, and she's very concerned about you, not the mission. She's concerned about you. And sometimes she'll even go a little bit against the mentor to help you out, because you are her main concern. So we set out we knew that if aura was going to sit well with you guys, we need to do a good job of it. So we took a lot of time to redesign aura. This is one of the initial mock-ups that we have for her. And we wanted her to evoke warm, comfortable feelings, and because she is your assistant or your comrade who's always there beside you, who's always there when the shit hits the fan and when you don't know exactly what to do, and when the mentor is yelling down your neck, Aura is always there with you. So we wanted somebody who would have a universal appeal to give you safety, to give you assurance. And I think we did an excellent job of that. And the voice actress that we got for Aura, she just nailed it. It was so much fun listening to her. Her name is Christina Cole. I don't know if anybody here likes Suits, the TV show, but she was the psychiatrist on that show, if anybody is a Suits fan. So that's the voice actress that we have for Aura, which I'm very, very happy with the results of that. And this is our new Aura. You heard her in action in the keynote, and I'll show you a video clip in a bit that you're gonna hear and see her again. And like I said, she's already testing very well. And I think with the new players who don't have an emotional attachment to the old Aura, I think this is actually gonna be a big hit. So, as you can see, quad guidance system. Aura has voice, she has text, she has images, and she has UI highlighting. So, depending on how powerful we want the guidance, we can roll out a really, really powerful style. And that's what we do to begin with, and then we start rolling it back to try to give you more autonomy as you start getting the hang of things. Then we come to the enemy. Again, remember, you always have to remember that we're talking about not the typical EVE veteran here, we're talking about a universal appeal. How do we get the most amount of people to enjoy this first couple hours? So we wanted a really strong enemy archetype. And we looked through what we have in EVE. Should we build a new one? No, we don't have to, because we have these guys. These guys are like the ultimate evil. And they have a lot of mystery to them, which is very important to me. The drifters became the perfect candidate, and we decided that for the second and third steps, we want to build on a conflict between the empires. But for the first phase, we should give everybody a universal enemy threat. And it should be evil, and it should have a little mystery to it. And you can just see that these guys are evil. Even their ships. Like these guys, like when they look at you, they have these like crawly hand thingies, and I was very happy when I saw the assets that we have for them. Although I would have liked that we had more ships, but we're working on that. But the Seekers became the enemy. What does this amount to? One of the key reasons CCP brought me on board for this was my knowledge of the brain, as you probably know, and behavior. And my background, for example, is rooted in stuff like interrogations. And in an interrogation setting, you get a much clearer emotional response than in a research setting. And what I mean by this, and why this is important for what we're talking about here, is that when somebody shows up for an interrogation, if he's a suspect, he has something to risk. He has something on the line. So the emotional response you get from him is much clearer than if you were doing a research with him in some university setting where he doesn't actually have something. You have to fake what he has on the line. And thus, the unavoidable side product of doing hundreds and hundreds of interrogations is increased knowledge of human behavior. And what I repeatedly saw is that stuff like context and story are incredibly important for jolting your memory. So, for example, the last job I had before CCP was with the Special Prosecutor's Office. And we were investigating the financial crisis that Iceland had. Iceland basically had 3 big banks. They were combined 14 times the size of our economy, and they all collapsed within a week. And what came out of that is just what came out of every bank in the Western Hemisphere, is that they've been doing a lot of market manipulation in 2008. But unlike you guys, we didn't decide to pay them off. We decided to investigate. And what was very interesting is when we started interrogating people related to this, is a lot of it naturally dealt with numbers. And if you just ask somebody about a number and a date, he will just be like, I don't know, you know? But if you can put it in a story, if you can put it in a context, if you be like, that day, that's the day when this thing happened. And according to witnesses, this was going on at the bank. You guys had a soccer tournament, an in-house soccer tournament, and we've been told that this guy got drunk and punched this guy, and as soon as you start telling a story, they'll be like, oh, yes, that's the day when we had the contracts, yes. Because this is how the brain works. And I went over this a little bit in the keynote. The brain is optimized for this. The most oldest, powerful part of the brain, he stores information through story. And evolutionary biologists believe that this is because this is how we used to store information before computers. We would hand down stories about your ancestry and legacy. So the brain is very, very powerful when it comes to processing, storing, and dealing with information through stories. So we wanted to build a story. But we also wanted to work with emotions a little bit, because emotions are very important for urgency and memory. And I want to explain that a little bit too, because I'm a major nerd when it comes to this, and I have you guys for an hour, so I'm just going to use that. If you guys have seen, there's a very good Disney movie actually that visualizes this called Inside Out. And they actually went and talked to like the top neurological scientists in the field before visualizing that. And the way they explain it, I like it, is that every time you have something happen to you, you create a memory. And that becomes like a memory ball that you store in your brain. If an emotion is attached to that memory, it will shine brighter in your database. And the stronger the emotion is, the brighter this ball will shine. So when you go back to retrieve memories, the memories that have the most emotion attached to it will shine the brightest, and you'll fetch them first and most easily. This is something that I've also witnessed firsthand, and I've seen repeatedly in the field, because when I was young, I used to work as a police officer on the street. And the difference between getting a statement from either a victim or a perpetrator on scene versus 6 weeks later is tremendous. And the main reason for this is that every time you experience something, there is emotion attached to it. The next time you recollect it, you will relive that emotion. And the stronger the emotion was the first time, the stronger you will relive it. However, each time again you recollect it, the emotional intensity will start to come down. So, if I get you on scene, your recollection is the first ever. And what you see when people are recollecting something is you get the emotional response from them, because they're reliving it. And emotions cause biological reactions. So for example, if you experience fear, doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you were grown up, every single person in this room will have the exact same biological reaction, which is blood will pump to your legs, preparing you for flight. It will drain from your arms, your heart will start pumping faster, respiration will increase, perspiration will increase, and my favorite, and this is where I got into behavioral science, is that facial muscles will be triggered. You have 43 facial muscles in your face. They can make 10,000 indicators of 10,000 facial expressions, and out of those 10,000, 3,000 are useful indicators of feelings. And if you experience fear, every single one of you will have the same facial muscles triggered. And if you know what to look for, this is what I used when I was interrogating, is that if I knew you should have this emotional response to these type of information, I could look at your facial muscles and see if they get triggered, because you can't mask them, because they go through the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, which activates before you get to control your facial muscles. So, if you're like, I've never seen this person before, I don't know who he is, and I've never even been in the same room as him, and then I'm like, well, here's a video of you and him talking. And I can just watch your facial muscles, depending on if that's true or not, to see what the emotional response is. And this is what happens. So when I'm on scene, and I meet somebody who's really afraid, and he's telling me his story, I will see the biological reaction directly. And that gives me a tremendous tool to assess whether he's being truthful or not. If he shows up 6 weeks later he has told his story to 100 people and his emotional reactions have gone down. I have to use different tools. How is this applicable to what we're doing? It's applicable because if we can raise the emotional level in the experience by, for example, getting you excited or pumped up or afraid or something, you'll have a much easier time of recollecting things and you'll learn better what we're teaching you. And this is actually one of the main reasons I believe EVE Online is such a powerful game, is because once you reach the state of play which you guys are on, which is PvP, and what EVE has different from most other games is that the loss is real. You work to build up a ship for 3 months. You put a lot of time and effort in it, help from your comrades, real life people. Then you take that ship out and it gets destroyed. You can't respawn, you can't reload, you've just lost it. What you'll experience is actual, very powerful emotional response. And this is much deeper than in any games where you can just respawn or reload because the stakes are higher. And that's exactly what I experienced in the interrogations. When the stakes are higher, the emotional response is clearer. That is one of the things that makes EVE such a fantastic game, because it's designed to do this. That's why you guys love it, and that's why I love working on this game, because it is insane. It's just such a powerful experience that can be built through something like this. We need to get people to the spot where you guys are at. That's our main concern here. So, some scientific jumble. Side story, but this is why I love what I'm doing here. And this is why I love getting feedback from you guys. And a lot of you guys are also invested in this stuff. I had a super interesting conversation yesterday with a guy who's working with veterans. And they're studying like how PTSD and explosions, what type of effect that has on the brain, and how going through a game like EVE can help you in the recovery. And like we had like an hour-long chat, which was super interesting. And this is where we're at. A game like EVE can cater to and work to help in situations like these. I don't think a lot of other games can. So, our job, Team Genesis, who is tasked with the MP, is to help you, or help new players, remember and learn, and to assist you in enjoying remembering and learning. So that's quite a challenge, especially in a game like EVE, where we need to teach you 9 million things. So, how do we show you the awesomeness of the game without overwhelming you? I'm going to show you now a video clip from what I call the mystery site. In-game, this is going to be called the Sisters of Eve research site. And what's happening here is, this is in mid-game, or mid-NP, mid-Inception. The player has done, if he's reached this point, he's done a decent job of saving an important research scientist, and his empire is gearing up for a counterstrike against the drifters. But the empire doesn't quite know where the drifters are, and we still need some pieces to be able to fight off and deliver our retribution. And in the middle of that, there is a distress call from a black site run by the Sisters of Eve. And because the player rescued a Sisters of Eve research scientist, Sisters of Eve specifically asked for him to go there. Neither Aura nor the mentor know anything about this site, so this is a complete mystery site. And I'm going to show you now a 5-minute clip from this site, and then I'm going to go through a little bit what we're doing in that site.
It looks like the drifters really tore our fleet apart. What the hell happened here? We had no word that an Amar fleet had run into trouble at this location. All I know is there should be a Sisters of Eve outpost in the depths of this place. Let us hope that holds some answers. Navigate your way to it immediately, but keep an eye out and be alert for hostiles.
This site is quite unusual, and it is enormous. In order for you to save time, you might want to activate your afterburner to travel faster through it. However, stay alert, because this is uncharted territory. The Sisters of Eve have been doing some unusual research here, which does not show up in records accessible to me. We don't know what the drifters were doing here. Be very careful, Captain. You should locate the info shard on your overview and approach it. Continue to approach the info shard. We need you to be within close proximity. Remember to stop your ship when you reach the shard.
Your telemetry indicates some anomalous signals circling the outpost, but I can't get a precise read on them. Perhaps the drifters are generating interference. Have faith and remain vigilant. You are the only set of eyes and ears I have out there.
Captain, for your ears only. I am afraid the drifters may have hacked our outpost. That could give them access to ship FTL comms and navigation systems we've been developing. Theoretically, it might give them access to some of the ships we've installed prototypes in. It looks like our outpost is relatively intact. You are going to have to try to hack into its mainframe to extract some information on what happened here. Be careful.
Captain, if the outpost is still intact, it will have to be hacked. It's a good thing you prepared by bringing a data analyzer. Hacking is a delicate process, but mastering it can give you access to a lot of wealth in some of the deep and hidden pockets of New Eden. Let me walk you through the process. Captain, you should now lock target on the info shard. You should now activate the civilian data analyzer on the info shard. You are now attempting to hack into the info shard. You should select encrypted nodes until you locate the system core. After you click a node, the numbers that appear will indicate your proximity to the core. You may come across defensive software on your route. You should click on it until you deactivate the firewall. Now you have successfully hacked into the info shard. You should retrieve the cargo.
What is this? These things just lit up the site. Professor Tanner, have you ever seen anything like this? Is this your tech?
No, Fleet Commander. I have never seen anything like this before. I suggest the Captain get out of there as fast as possible.
Sound advice, Professor. Recruit. The Imperial Sensor Net just picked up a large drifter fleet on course for your location. I don't know what you just activated, but it's roused up a demon storm. It's safe to say they're hungry for your blood. The Professor may be an amateur, but I agree with her tactical analysis. Get out of there.
To travel to a safe spot, click the location marker icon in the info panel. Warp drive active.
Now, I'm going to analyze this a little bit, what we did there. The goal of this site is, we have numerous goals. One is we wanted to use mystery to try to get a little emotion up, and there is a lot of tiny details, and I don't know how analytical you are, that we added in there to try to get this sense of mystery up there. You start by flying through fog, you have low visibility, there is like shards and stuff of ships flying past you, all of a sudden there's an explosion, both the aura and the mentor talk about they don't know what's going on there. The music is very much emphasizing this. These are what we call primers. And you end up finding some weird outpost that you have to hack into. So then you get up this hacking system and you don't know what's on the other side of it. As soon as you defeat that and achieve that of hacking, something, electricity lights up the sky. We don't know exactly what that happens. The mentor comes online, it's just like, hey, our grid just picked up a massive fleet that's coming to you. You apparently awoke some demon storm, as he phrases it, in a Mar fashion. And there's all these primers that help deliver to a point of like, you should feel excited and raise the emotion. And that emotion hopefully helps hammer in the lesson, which is we're trying to teach you navigation. We're trying to show you that the wonder of space, this is a big site that you get to fly through, you get to look and explore, and a big part of EVE is exploration. And usually, I mean, people will get to know EVE, of course, and the majority of exploration in EVE will always be with you guys and through you guys, but we have to try to give you a taste of that in the MP. So we build something like this, where you get to experience a little bit of exploration. And I always say the biggest part of exploration is EVE, is exploring what you can do in the game, because there's 9 million things you can do in the game, and just getting the confidence to explore that is very, very fun, especially if you've started to feel like, well, I did the mystery side, you know, I've done a little exploration, I would love to continue, you know, maybe finding a wormhole or something, because I like the feeling that this gives me. Also, you might have noticed, because you're veterans, you know how things work. For example, the hacking. You may have noticed that it was incredibly easy, and there was really no challenge in hacking, you just had to click it. But when we started testing this with people who haven't done hacking in EVE, they think it's super exciting, because most people obviously don't know how to hack, and then they get like a really visual, beautiful thing of how to hack, and the audio and everything supports it. We originally intended to teach you the full hacking system, but it was so complicated that it always took like 8 pages of text just to teach you in detail how it worked. So we decided, we'll give you a taste of it. If you think it's interesting, then you'll have the drive once you're done with Inception to like, I want to do more hacking. And then it should be a chore to read up on it, because you've already done like an interesting experience with it. And this is some of the challenges that we have with teaching you elements of gameplay. It's like, how far do we go with it? Because in EVE, there's like 15 layers of depth with teaching everything. And how far do we need to go before you have like the confidence to continue on your own? For the hacking, we may be wrong, but we chose to at least give you the experience, teach you roughly how it works, but draw a line at where the firewall starts to kick in. Now, there are other things there. You may have noticed we use pictures for icons, we use emotions for urgency and memory. The voice lowers the entry barrier, and the mystery is for added suspension and intrigue. And there's other humans there that care about you, and they care about the decisions that you make. And I don't know if you noticed, but it was very, very fun directing Aura, because she was a computer, and we were trying to deliver emotion through her voice whilst keeping her a computer. And I would love to see here if anybody noticed when she was telling you that you need to hack, and then all of a sudden she's like, it's a good thing that you prepared by bringing a data analyzer. And it's in a slightly different kind of voice. That's because the story is prepped you in a way where it gives you the choice to take the data analyzer, because it's a recommendation from the professor. And when you reach a point in the game where like you need a data analyzer or you can't finish the mission, Aura comes up and be like, hey, it's a good thing you decided to bring the data analyzer. And you're like, yes, that's because I'm super smart. And there's a professor there that comes online. She's much more human and empathetic than the rather cold mentors. And she's like, you know, mentor, please get the recruit out of there. I'm worried about him. And then the mentor comes online and he's like, well, the professor may be an amateur, but I agree with her assessment, you know, because she doesn't know anything about war. So there's all these human elements at play that we try to take what you guys usually give players once they've entered the game with a little confidence, and we try to recreate it through the experience. So we basically theatrically reenact you guys. And your actions have visually pleasing consequences. So once you finished hacking, you get access to the cargo, which is unknown sequence. As soon as you loot that, you upload the data from the hacking, the sky lights up. And we specifically requested that new video effect, which is beautiful. And that's just a direct consequence of you doing such a good job at hacking. Now you're a hacker. We have 5 sites in the new MP. You just saw what I call the mystery site, or the Sisters of Eve research site. This is from the pirate site. If you would fly a little bit here, you start getting into combat with pirates. And we put a lot of emphasis on having them beautifully designed. There's always, or there's usually like a sense of mystery to it, and you can explore stuff and look around. And they're all crucial to the developing story of you moving from a nobody to a somebody, to a capsuleer. This is like a personal growth development story from you as a recruit to a capsuleer that's hopefully able to start working with you guys. We have a pinnacle moment, and one of the feedback that we got a lot, not only from new players, but from you guys. At FanFest, for example, people are always telling me, like, I've been playing the game for 6 months until I saw a capital ship, or I've been playing for almost a year until I had my first major fleet fight. And it wasn't until at that point that I realized, like, wow, this game is insane. So we thought about it, and we were like, if we want to help people assess if they want to move further into this game, shouldn't we give them a taste of the awesomeness? For example, when we did the This Is Eve trailer, which is, in my opinion, by far the best marketing trailer we've ever done, we had a massive influx of players. But This Is Eve shows what you guys do. They show like massive fleet battles. And in the current opportunities that you enter the game, you don't get that. You see a trailer like, wow, I want to do this. And then you enter the game, and that's not at all the experience that you get. So there's an expectation gap to be bridged. So we decided, shouldn't we give you a taste of this in the MP? That you get to participate in a massive fleet battle. And that it should be as realistic that we can do. So you, as a tiny recruit, as you're flying a frigate at that point, you get to do something that's important to the battle, but it's still not unrealistic. So what happens in the storyline is that you enter here, and this is, by the way, the Drifter Hive, which is so enormous that, yeah, it caused some problems with designing this, because we were like, okay, just make him fly this distance. And I was like, oh, that's 400 kilometers. So, yes. But it was just, it's so awesome that we wanted to keep it in there. But at a point in the battle, a capital ship shows up that the drifters have hijacked, and that's actually what was happening at the mystery site. And you get the job as the rookie, because you have a stasis webifier and a frigate and you're fast, to burn out there to the capital ship and webify it and slow it down so it can't reach the main battle arm of the drifters. So you get like a realistic scenario where you actually matter in a massive conflict. The pinnacle moment lets you see a capital ship. It lets you experience a realistic scenario of importance in a massive fleet battle, and it lets you experience the pinnacle of gameplay in order to be able to assess, is this game for me? And decide, do I want to reach this level? And I think that's the most valuable thing of the pinnacle game, is that most people, I hope, are going to like it because it is super awesome. And they're going to be like, okay, if I want more of this, what do I have to do? Enter you guys. That's where you should be. And like, hey, you want to do pinnacle gameplay moments like this? We're going out Friday night. We're going to do this. If you want to do more like this, you can come with us. This is what you need to do. Start doing this to prep for Friday night. You see where I'm going with this? We're trying to give you better tools better recruiting tools, more new players that are more pumped to join up with you guys, and they understand why they should be pumped about it. Reception so far has been overwhelmingly positive. It has, of course, not all been positive. Two of the biggest negative feedbacks or three of the biggest negative feedbacks so far I've heard is, one was that we teach autopilot for flying. We do add manual pilot at the end of the experience. That's not in CC yet, I think. But we didn't want to complicate things for the first time when you're flying between places by adding all these manual steps. So when you're overwhelmingly learning, we just give you autopilot, and then at the end of it, we start giving you manual piloting. So we've responded to that feedback. Second one was that the circadian seekers are easy to kill in the MP. There was no way around it. I mean, we couldn't put in an actual circadian seeker and just, you would have no way of ever killing it. So that's also a valid feedback, and the team is looking into differentiating it, maybe by calling it something like a circadian seeker scout or something like that. And again, your feedback is affecting how we are developing this. And the third one is, and this was very much to be expected, it was the voice of Aura. And most people seem to love it. I haven't seen a feedback so far that's like, I don't like the new voice of Aura. It's more, I like the old Aura voice. And voices are very, very subjective, so this is a risk that we had to take. But the more we play through it and the more feedback we get, people seem to love the new Aura. And I hope that for you guys that this is the hardest on, that the transitioning will become smoother. But the feedback has very much been something like this. Well done, CCP Games, EVE Online, CCP Sequel, the new MP looks great. It feels much better, it really gives context. Excellent, I'm very happy to hear this. EVE Online, CCP Games, I cannot imagine the limits of EVE if you guys keep putting out sites like this. Good job on the MP experience. And then just over here in Vegas, I've been getting a lot of feedback, and like I said, my favorite feedback has been stuff like, my wife finally wants to play this game. So, what is your role in all of this? You have been massively important in helping us develop this. Like I said, we created a vision, and then we kind of checked that vision against you guys. You guys had feedback, and usually the deepest feedback comes from you guys, because you have usually the best knowledge of what it is like in there. And we'll be like, oh, you know, that makes more sense to do it like that within the vision. We should upgrade that. And FanFest, Reddit, CSM, email, eVegas, all been very, very valuable to that extent. But now we need your help for new players to step into the transitioning and handoff point. This is phase 1. Now we're going to go hard to work on phase 2 and to polish phase 1. And the handoff point now is that hopefully players can go through the first. We've calculated that an average player doesn't know the game. It takes about 3 to 4 hours to do the Inception. And that at the end of that, he should have like a foundational knowledge of the game. You need to receive them and be like, all right, now you know this. What are you interested in? Do you want to do a big fleet battle like you had in the Pinnacle? Or do you want to do more industry like you did when you were prepping here? Or do you want to do exploration like the mystery site, you know, stuff like that? Then join us. This is what we need to do. Help us harden and polish Inception. Give us more feedback on how you feel about it. Play it on Singularity and then play it when it comes out and deliver feedback to us. We will strengthen it until we feel it is adequate, and help us make the right decisions for the next phase. And the next phase is. And the round table that we have at 12, I would like to seriously start that discussion at that point, and I'm going to explain a little bit where we're heading with this. We're going to do A/B testing on launch day, November 15th. We're going to launch the experience for 100% of the new users. And existing users, if you want to play this, you will have to do a new account to play this. We did not want you to be able to show up with a Titan and go through this. It was just, we couldn't design for it. And then post-launch, and this is the planned schedule. We deploy, we work on supporting buddy trials, getting the new player experience regardless of running A/B tests. And then we deploy that support and then launch a 50% A/B test against the opportunities, because we want to understand what and how we are improving this. And that's kind of the only way to do it, because as soon as we launch, we will get an entirely different audience when we go free to play, because we'll have changed the barrier of entry to the game. So, do we have time to do this? 6 minutes, all right, very accurate. MP Part 2, what to tackle next? That is the big question here. So, next steps. We need to gradually give you more autonomy. For the first couple hours, we seriously hold your hand and we guide you through it. And hopefully that hand-holding and guiding will give you some confidence to continue more on your own. So we want to gradually increase the autonomy. We want to give you more visual progression. So what I mean by this is, a lot of the feedback we got when we started monitoring new players was, I love the game, there's so much I can do, but I don't know, am I doing good? Where's my progression? I want to build a Titan. Am I close or away? How far, how close am I to that goal? And another thing that I couldn't believe wasn't in the game when we looked at it, and we've actually started work and we're far away there, is to give you your net asset worth. So that you can open up something and be like, okay, the combined value of all my ships, all my modules, everything I own is 3 billion. And basically give you more visual progression like this. You have done so far this. Here is a stat, or here is a chart that shows you roughly how much assets you own, how many missions you've done, how close you are to getting these ships, all that stuff. Clear gameplay plateau. So you can set short-term, mid-term, or long-term goals, and you understand roughly where you're at with them. Increasing mastery. And when I talked at FanFest in Iceland, this was a key thing I mentioned, because Eve is, when we started looking at your feedback, we had a campaign that was like, why I love Eve. And so many of you guys mentioned this. I love the mastery that Eve, I can be pursuing mastery for 9 years in the same game. New players need to start experiencing this. And eventually, of course, we need to connect the new players powerfully with the community. And this is probably the most exciting and challenging challenge. So what we have planned is something that we're calling the Operations Center. And what the Operations Center is that now you finish the MP, then you can open up like a map or a center. And there you can plan your next steps. You can see where you're at, you can plan where you want to go, and it should gradually give you more autonomy and open up the possibilities of the game to you at a pace that you handle. So if you're very powerful and you know a lot about the game, you can just burn through everything and open up really fast. If you're going at a slower pace, you can go slower and the Operations Center will follow you. So an example of this would be, you finish the MP, Inception, and now you're presented with an option. You can take 3 different types of operations. One would be a combat operation, second would be an industry operation, and the third would be an exploration operation. You're like, okay, I've had a taste of each one of them in the MP, so I can assess what I felt was most excited. I want to do more combat. You do that operation, that opens up 2 more combat opportunities. And then you get a reward and you get to choose something like, do you want to put railguns, missiles, or shields on your new ship that you got? You get to choose that. So we start giving you more autonomy, and we also start seeing better what you're interested in and what kind of player you are. Hopefully, that's data that we could use to help match players more efficiently with you guys. And that's kind of like a 3rd and 4th phase kind of thinking process. And I must iterate on this, that these are all just thoughts. That down the line, we would improve the matchmaking process with the corps. That you could get better information, like if you're running a massive industry corp and you're like, we need 16 powerful miners, then you should be able to see like, here are 50 people who have done 40 mining operations. They should be very powerful and have the equipment and the skills needed for it. And the same for them. They should be able to assess what kind of corp they want to go into, and they should see on their operations map what type of corp it is. 3 minutes. Other ideas that we have, and this is not for phase 2, but this would be if we have something like an operations center, well, what can we plug into it? And one idea that we actually got from the CSM, which we loved and we're trying to run with a little bit, is what if you guys could build content to plug into the operations center? So once you reached a layer or a tier in the operations center, you could actually open up something like, you know, Corporation Mania. And you guys could be like, we have these 6 tasks that if you solve them, we will give you this or something. This is long-term thinking, but short-term thinking, we feel that we need to set up some medium that could accommodate this, that could achieve these goals that we have over here. So, let's continue this discussion. If you're interested in this, if you have feedback on this, if you have thoughts, if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on this, please join me on the roundtable. And just thank you for an excellent turnout and for just really good audience. I mean, you've been hanging on to my every word, so you must be really excited about this. Thank you.